Cody said this as well at the earlier. It's really subject to the use case. And then right before this panel, Cody and I were talking at LexisNexis. Legal and professional is a different division. I work for risk solutions, but there's a different division called legal and professional. They went public with here is a generative AI tool that is now available for public in a preview edition. What they have done is took a plain model and then they have trained that model with their own individual data, the data available within the enterprises, so that's very unique because the legal and professional is in this particular business, and the content accuracy of the information is matters for their customers who use it. Citation matters for them about how they produce the answers. So for them to use a unique technology by themselves is very important. But at the same time, legal and professional has been in this business for quite some time. For several decades, they have been using various different LLM models in the past. So now they have introduced a new solution to the market in public for the customer, for the consumers to use using generative AI.
Yeah, we definitely haven't done that, but I think there's also a paper, or at least a post from Bloomberg on a model they built.
Oh yeah, Bloomberg GPT, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they like compare the performance of their model, which has access to, as you can imagine, a lot of historical Bloomberg data and how it performs relative to like a raw GPT model on answering questions in the financial domain. And so not surprisingly, it's better.
Excellent.
And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that. We haven't done it, but I'm excited to to at least investigate like to what extent we can take some of the I talked about these LoRa techniques for augmenting a pre-built model. I think that we can probably answer questions more accurately for our customers if we do some of that. Because one of the things that I think we wrestle with in particular, or not in particular, but I think everybody wrestles with is the models embed tons and tons of knowledge, but then you're limited to like what you can inject into them during the prompting, right? And I don't think this is as widely understood as it should be, but I think what 3.5 is like 4K tokens, 4 is 8K tokens, and then they have a 32 available.
Yeah, right.
Which also just another practical thing, like be aware of like the cost differences of those three things. Because like there's like an order of magnitude between 5 and 4. I don't even know what 32K costs. But
the D model, the Da Vinci model, is significantly more performant, but you pay.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
but anyway, it's to say like a big challenge I think everybody is going to deal with is like how do I get new custom content into the system? And a big part of it is going to find this content and injecting it. Like you talked about, there's a great post I think I really enjoyed from I think he's CTO at SourceGraph, a guy named Steve Yagi. I think it's called "Cheating is All You Need" or something like that. But it basically talks about this whole problem of in generating code. It's easy for Copilot to do things that are like self-contained, like write me an algorithm that does this, and they're like, okay, I know what that algorithm does. But it's harder to say like, write me some code that works within the context of the existing code that I have, uses the libraries that we use, uses the frameworks that we use. You can imagine like if you're in a big, Fortune 500 company, or any significant company, like you've got a whole bunch of standards and guidelines that you put in place. What Copilot knows is mostly just like how to write general purpose code. And you talked about security, right? I mean, you may ask people to do specific things, use specific libraries for security purposes. You don't need Copilot being like, well, I could write that, on my own. I could write that version of that function, and don't worry about the one that you require people to use, right? Like a sanitization function. Like you may have chosen some specific ones to use in your domain, and Copilot could easily decide, you know what? I've seen 1,000 versions of that on the internet. Here's a pretty good one. And bypass all that.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So my apology. Grammarly Go is another one. It's very recent, and it's worked incredibly well. Sorry, I'm not advocating Grammarly here in this media, but it worked really well. To me, that's one of the ways that they figured out how to monetize on generative AI concept. Where you talked about AutoGPT at the beginning, Leo, that they brought AutoGPT built into that user interface, and that balloon is Grammarly balloon is available throughout your computer. In your Teams chat, you type a sentence, all of a sudden the balloon pops up and say, rewrite this message. And then say, once it rewrite, click on insert, it inserts the new message. I mean, it's just incredible what they have done. But that's one way of monetizing on this technology.
Training from the ground up from a green field is a very expensive undertaking, and if you don't have the data governance in place to support it, then you're maybe wasting your time.